The Castellano restaurant in Manhattan's Upper East Side wasn't a place for just anyone. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, and every table was draped in white linen. The wine list was thicker than most mortgages, and on any evening, the crowd included hedge fund managers, old money socialites, and sometimes people whose money came from less official sources. Tonight, it was one of those nights. Victor Castellano Sr. sat in the restaurant's best corner booth, the one with a view of every entrance, permanently reserved for him. At 73, he still commanded attention simply by sitting there. Tattoos climbed both arms, disappearing beneath the collar of his black suit. A lion-headed cane rested beside him. His sunglasses remained on indoors, and a thick gold chain hung around his neck. Next to him sat Victor Castellano Jr., mid-40s, dressed sharply, fewer tattoos, but the same dangerous aura. He managed the family's legitimate empire, real estate, construction, and 3 restaurants, including this one. What those businesses covered for, nobody openly discussed. Tonight was special. Victor Sr. had flown in from Palermo 3 days ago for his grandson's christening, and now they were celebrating. The table was set for 12, family, close associates, the people who truly mattered. Roberto, the restaurant owner, had assigned his best servers, which is how 24-year-old Sofia Reyes ended up serving Manhattan's most dangerous table on a regular Tuesday. Sofia was new. Small, quiet, dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, wide brown eyes that made her look younger than she was. She moved through the restaurant like she didn't want to take up space, efficient, professional, but nervous around demanding customers. Before service, Roberto pulled her aside. "Table 9 tonight. Castellano Sr. is visiting from Sicily. Be respectful. Be attentive. Don't hold eye contact too long. And whatever you do, don't spill anything. You're the only one fluent in Italian. I need you there." Sofia's hands trembled slightly as she approached. 12 people sat at the table in expensive clothes, speaking in a mix of English and rapid Italian. Bodyguards stood nearby, discreet but alert. The air felt thick with power. Victor Sr. noticed her first. His eyes tracked her approach, assessing, calculating. Sofia stopped at the table, straightened, and did something that froze everyone. She bowed slightly and spoke in Sicilian, not standard Italian, but the old country dialect from specific parts of the island. "Buonasera, Signor, Benvenuto a New York." "Good evening, sir. It is an honor to have such a distinguished guest in our home. I am Sofia. I will be at your service tonight." Silence fell. Victor Sr. slowly removed his sunglasses, his gaze piercing. "Do I impostra? My grandmother was from Palermo, sir. She spoke only Sicilian at home." He studied her. Then the hard edges of his face softened, just slightly. Which part of Palermo?" "Sor the Bellaro district, sir." Victor Sr. turned to his son. "Bellaro," he said. One word, heavy with meaning. Victor Jr. leaned in. "Your grandmother was from Bellaro, the old neighborhood." "Yes, sir. She left Sicily in 1962. Came to New York with nothing. Worked in a garment factory for 30 years. Victor Sr. spoke again in Sicilian, and this time the room shifted. Heads turned, glances exchanged. "Sit down, Sofia, just for a moment." "Senor, I have other tables," Roberto said. Victor Sr. didn't raise his voice but projected authority. "Roberto, my waitress will sit with us for 5 minutes. Someone else can cover her tables." Roberto nodded instantly. "Of course. Marco will take over." Sofia perched on a chair, hands folded, terrified but trying not to show it. Every instinct screamed danger, but Victor Sr.'s expression was not threatening. It was something else. "My mother was from Bellaro," he said in accented English. "She died in 1978. I was 28. She spoke to me in that dialect every day. No one has spoken to me like that in 46 years. You sound exactly like her." The table sat frozen. 12 powerful people, motionless, as their patriarch experienced a private memory. Victor Jr. reached over, placing a hand on his father's arm, a gesture of loyalty, of connection. Sofia spoke from the heart. Sorona Sicilotto. Your mother was a strong woman, sir, like my grandmother. Sicilian mothers, they build everything. Victor Sr. laughed, a genuine laugh, rare, surprising, warm. Yes, he said. They do. He turned to his son, speaking rapidly in Sicilian. Victor Jr. nodded, then looked at Sofia. My father wants to know about your family, your grandmother. Did she have brothers? Sisters? One brother. He stayed in Sicily. My grandmother lost touch with him after coming to America. Victor Sr. and Jr. exchanged a look Sofia couldn't read. Then he asked, Your full name? Sofia Maria Reyes. My grandmother's maiden name was Ferrante. Victor Jr. pulled out his phone, showed the screen to his father. Victor Sr.'s eyebrows rose. Ferrante, he repeated. From Bellaro. Yes, sir. I knew a Ferrante family in Bellaro. When I was young they were. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Good people. Honest people. They had a daughter who went to America in the early 60s. Sofia's breath caught. My grandmother's name was Lucia Ferrante. Victor Sr. closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the hardness that usually defined him was gone. What remained was raw, genuine emotion, a man who had spent decades surrounded by fear and power now confronted with a connection to the world before all that. Lucia, he said softly. I remember Lucia. She used to sing in the square on Sunday evenings. Such a beautiful voice. Sofia's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't stop them. She sang to me every night until she died last year. She whispered. The table held its breath. Victor Sr. reached across and took her hand in both of his. His tattooed fingers, fingers that had done things no one at this table would ever speak aloud, held hers with extraordinary gentleness. I am sorry for your loss, Sofia. Lucia Ferrante was a good woman. I remember her kindness when I was a boy, when my family had nothing. The Ferrantes shared what little they had with everyone in the neighborhood. He released her hand and leaned back, thoughtful. Then he turned to Victor Jr. and spoke rapidly in Sicilian for nearly a minute. His son listened, nodded several times, then turned back to Sofia. My father would like to make an offer, not as charity, not as business. Family honors family, even when the connection is distant and old. Sofia shook her head immediately. I don't need anything, sir. I'm just grateful for this conversation, your father's memories of my grandmother. That means more than you know. Victor Jr. smiled. He anticipated that. He says it's not charity. It's recognition. You're studying to be a nurse, correct? Sofia blinked. How did you? Roberto mentioned it while discussing staffing. You work nights, study during the day, support yourself completely alone. My father wants to cover your remaining tuition, not as a gift, but as payment for the greatest gift you gave him tonight, hearing his mother's language spoken with love. I can't accept that, she whispered. Victor Sr. raised one finger. One finger, and Sofia fell silent instinctively, not from fear, but from the quiet authority of the gesture. Sofia, my mother would want me to help a Ferrante girl become a nurse. She would never forgive me if I didn't. You honor her memory by speaking our language. Let me honor your grandmother's memory by helping you finish your education. This is not negotiable. Sofia glanced around the table. Powerful, dangerous, complicated people watched the exchange, some surprised, some genuinely moved. Even the bodyguards relaxed, subtly amused. Thank you, senor, she whispered. Grady, thank you. Victor Sr. nodded once firmly. Then he put his sunglasses back on, picked up his menu, and the moment passed but was clearly not forgotten. Now, he said in English, his commanding tone returning. We ordered appetizers 40 minutes ago. Where is my food? Laughter erupted around the table, tension dissolving into the warmth of family. Sofia finished her shift in awe. Later Roberto, briefed by Victor Jr., pulled her aside. What did you do? He asked, half laughing, half incredulous. I greeted him in Sicilian. That's all. Roberto shook his head in disbelief. Do you know who Victor Castellano Sr. is? And you just made him cry in front of his entire inner circle by speaking like his dead mother. In 20 years running this restaurant, I've never seen anyone affect him that way. Not his wife. Not his children. You, a 24-year-old waitress, walked up to Manhattan's most dangerous table and made the man at its center feel something human. I didn't mean to make him feel anything, Sophia said. I just wanted to be respectful. That's why it worked. 2 weeks later, Sophia received an envelope at the restaurant. Inside was a cashier's check covering her entire remaining nursing school tuition. No note, no signature, just the check and a single photograph. A young girl standing in a Sicilian square, singing, surrounded by neighbors. On the back, in shaky handwriting, Lucia Ferrante, Bellaro 1960, per Sophia. Sophia held it with trembling hands, tears flowing. Not for the money, though it changed her life, but for the connection, the proof that her grandmother's life in Sicily had mattered, had been remembered 60 years later. 8 months later, she finished nursing school, specializing in geriatric care, working with elderly patients, many immigrants, people whose families had crossed oceans and built lives from nothing. She brought Sicilian into her work, speaking to patients in their home language whenever possible, knowing that hearing your mother tongue was medicine no prescription could replace. Victor Sr. visited the restaurant once more before returning permanently to Sicily. He requested Sophia specifically, and she served him with the same quiet grace she'd shown the first night. At the end of the meal, he called her over. Sophia, when you finish nursing, come to Palermo. Visit Bellaro. Find the square where Lucia sang. Stand there and sing, anything. It doesn't matter. The neighborhood remembers. The stones remember. And Lucia's spirit will hear her granddaughter's voice in the place where she first learned to sing. Then come back to New York and take care of old men like me. We need nurses who speak our language. Yes, senor, she promised. Years later, Sophia returned to Palermo. She found the square in Bellaro, small and worn, surrounded by ancient buildings. At sunset, she stood in the center and sang the lullaby her grandmother had sung to her every night of her childhood, the same melody Lucia Ferrante had sung there 60 years earlier. Nobody seemed to notice, but the air felt warmer. The stones felt less cold. Somewhere, in the place where good memories live, Lucia smiled. Sometimes the most powerful moments don't happen in boardrooms or battlefields. They happen when someone speaks your language, your real language, the one from home. When someone honors where you came from. When a shy waitress walks up to the most dangerous table and reminds a powerful man he was once just a boy listening to his mother sing. That's the moment that mattered. Everything else was just dinner. If this story moved you, share it with someone who carries their grandmother's language in their heart. Subscribe for stories about connection, heritage, and the moments that remind us where we truly come from. Comment with a word or phrase in your family's language that makes you feel at home. Those words are treasures worth protecting.